This is not an easy course. But life is never easy. There's work to be done and obligations to be met, obligations to truth, to justice, and to liberty.
COVID, but it's also clearly and almost immediately obvious as an inequality crisis. For professionals, this is a deeply upsetting time. Folks may have lost family members or been sick, but fundamentally, many of these workers we know have been able to maintain employment. The experience could not be more different at the other end of the labor market, where folks have experienced profound disruptions to their work. Either they are the first to bear the brunt of the recession, or they have staffed the front lines.
These days, I've probably talked more about persistence than anything else, because it is such a hard time. And it's so easy to lose hope. But you look at the people here at the Kennedy School and the students and their enthusiasm and their vibrancy and their commitment to do something, to change something, to social justice, finding a better way forward. That's a very hopeful thing.
We need to build a stronger, legally robust rationale for not only addressing the racial harms of the past, but the racial harms of the present and those being perpetuated into the future.
There are so many ways in which our destinies are tied to every single other person on this planet. Climate change, pandemics, all of these things are really critical issues for those aspiring to serve in the kinds of ways that President Kennedy called us on to do.
Too many leaders have failed their fellow countrymen and women by denying basic rights, reducing economic opportunity, and undermining effective governance. We at Harvard Kennedy School can do something about that. We need to do something about that. You need to do something about that.
As the High Sheriff of Middlesex County and a proud graduate of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, I declare that the meeting will be in order.
Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Elmendorf, the Dean of the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Welcome to the graduation of the amazing Harvard Kennedy School class of 2021. This class includes students from around the world, so I know that you are joining our celebration at many hours of the day and night. I wish you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker for today's graduation, U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. Secretary Buttigieg's distinguished career in public service includes roles in the military, local government, and national government. After graduating from Harvard College, Pete Buttigieg was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, and later an officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve for 7 years. He served 2 terms as mayor of his hometown of South Bend, Indiana, where he was known as Mayor Pete. As mayor, he oversaw the revitalization of South Bend's downtown and other neighborhoods, and the creation of new transportation services for commuters, among many other initiatives. He also took a leave of absence from the mayor's office for a military deployment to Afghanistan. In 2019, Pete Buttigieg launched a campaign for President of the United States, a campaign in which he gained considerable attention. On February 3rd of this year, he was sworn in as the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. He is the youngest cabinet secretary in the Biden-Harris administration and the first openly gay person confirmed to serve as a cabinet secretary. Secretary Buttigieg spent considerable time at the Kennedy School when he was an undergraduate at Harvard and served as chair of the Student Advisory Committee of our Institute of Politics. He has visited us since then, and we are delighted to welcome him back today. We are truly fortunate to have such a dedicated public leader addressing us. Please join me in welcoming Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
Thank you, Dean Elmendorf, for your introduction and for inviting me to speak here today. To the faculty and staff of the Harvard Kennedy School, to the family and friends of the graduates, and most importantly, to the Harvard Kennedy School Class of 2021, congratulations. Graduating from any university program, especially in a year like 2021, is an important achievement. Graduating from this institution places you in a unique and powerful tradition of service. In another speech to another group of students, this school's namesake, President Kennedy, said, "You here who will be in positions of responsibility for the rest of this century will deal with the most difficult, sensitive, and dangerous problems that any society of people has ever dealt with." He was speaking as America and the world wrestled with the exciting and terrifying implications of new technologies, new global dynamics, and new threats. But of course, his words could just as easily characterize our moment. It has become almost exhausting to recite the conditions that make this moment, our moment, so difficult, so sensitive, so dangerous. There is the pandemic that now defines our era, the confrontation with racism that we've come to call a reckoning, though I would be cautious in using a word like that implies resolution when we still have such a long way to go. And of course, we face climate change as its dimensions have advanced from theory to prediction to observation to emergency. Such is the moment in which you are about to enter or re-enter careers involving public service. No less than President Kennedy's time, this is very much a season for service, and it is a time for imagination. So in that spirit, I'd like to speak to you today about how we might expand our definition of the possible and define service for a new generation. But first, I want to take a moment to address your time at the Kennedy School. I'm sure the past year or two are not what you imagined when you applied. The effects of the COVID-19 pandemic shook not only the institutions that you study, but also the institution where you study. And it shook your own lives and families. In the midst of that adversity, you went into action. You cared for each other and lifted each other up. You helped classmates arrange new ways of collaborating and studying. You organized against white supremacy, spoke out against anti-Asian hate, worked in support of India and COVID hotspots, and acted to combat climate change. At a time when it would have been easier than ever to turn inward, you built community. All that while earning a demanding and prestigious degree. I didn't attend the Kennedy School myself, but I spent so much time within its walls as an undergraduate involved in the Institute of Politics that at one point my parents asked whether I was actually attending the college or just the IOP, and it was a fair question. And Chasten's more recent time as a fellow at the IOP has only deepened our love for the place. The IOP shaped me, as it has so many, meeting its mission as a place to cultivate the spark of service among undergraduates deciding what to do with their futures. So my memories of college are inseparable from the geography of the Kennedy School and from thoughts of things like the buzz of the forum, where I would earn pocket money as a student photographer, the smell of pizza in our committee room in the Littauer building, or the chatter about the latest news in the little student office where I can now say, with the tedious warmth of an old-timer, we actually had to stop by to check our email on a computer. I know things are different in countless ways for a Kennedy School 2021 graduate, but I hope many of us at least have the same relationship to Charlie's Kitchen. Of course, my most indelible memories have to do with the people I encountered in and around the halls of the Kennedy School. Giants of the Senate like Ted Kennedy or Al Simpson, civil rights leaders like Dorothy Height, and the classmates who filled my life with influence as well as friendship. You too have accumulated an extraordinary set of encounters in this place, some of which will become lifelong personal or professional relationships. Far too many of these encounters had to be over a screen. No forum as I knew it, no pizza-filled seminar rooms, not a lot of visits to Charlie's. I'm sorry about that. But I also hope you carry the effects of this disrupted season in your lives as a kind of propulsion, a reminder of the importance of the service to which you have been called, and for which, by virtue of this degree, you are that much more qualified today than when you arrived. There's a lot that can be said about belonging to a generation defined by a major and terrible world event. Later on, the mix of trauma and purpose comes to be romanticized by history, but in the middle of it, the dominant feeling is uncertainty and doubt. I remember, and forgive me if this is generationally tedious, but I want to share it. I remember what it was like packing the forum with my classmates in the wake of 9/11, trying to make sense of it, sensing but not really grasping just how much it would define the world into which we were about to emerge, and for many of us, shape our own life stories. 9/11 was seemingly a single event on a single day, and in that sense so different from COVID, as the destruction seemed so much more sudden and spectacular and obvious rather than slow motion. Yet the long tail of that day's events shook and shaped and took lives, and continue to do that to this day. These emergencies are very different. Their effect on every human is immediate and visible, but like what happened 20 years ago, it'll be a long time before anyone can really make sense of the implications, geopolitical, social, and economic. So much will depend on how you choose to navigate the world as it's being reshaped by this still unfolding disaster. I'm not here to talk about silver linings. What has happened is not some kind of mixed bag. It is decidedly bad. But I do think it's important to mark the fact that the very thing that has disrupted your experience at the Kennedy School, along with so many other crushing effects in your lives and across the world, can also be a remarkable source of purpose in the public lives that are ahead of you. When President Kennedy called those young people to service in 1963, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that government was a place, perhaps the place, where you could best make a difference. Yet something happened across the ruptures of the 1970s and the ideological shifts of the 80s and the ironies of the 90s, so that by the time I turned up in Cambridge in the year 2000, politics and government had become profoundly unfashionable. This has shifted a little in the last 2 decades, but unsteadily. And overall, across our lifetimes, trust in government has continued to decline, largely as a consequence of policy failure. Yet this moment has also pointed the way toward a newly invigorated sense of the importance and possibilities of good public policy. The last year and a half have been characterized, to be sure, by the exposure of so many flaws in our many societal systems. But amid those many failures we witnessed, amid and after the outbreak, there was no failure of imagination. And this is what makes me hopeful. We found new ways to connect with each other, to work, learn, teach, celebrate, worship, and live. We had Zoom reunions and, of course, virtual commencement ceremonies. Compelled by circumstance, we adopted new patterns of remote work, which will now have profound implications for those communities and countries that have struggled to retain talent. We also completely reimagined much of what was possible in terms of public policy. The United Kingdom swiftly acted to cover 80% of losses for self-employed and furloughed workers. Countries in Southeast Asia expanded benefits to underserved communities, and in some cases supported non-citizens for the first time. The U.S. is part of an international community supporting waiving intellectual property protections for COVID vaccines to accelerate vaccination globally. And the U.S. saw a new readiness to offer new low-cost health services on a universal basis here at home when it came to things like free COVID testing and vaccinations. We saw direct cash payments to over 160 million people. We dramatically expanded the child tax credit, which analysts predict will cut child poverty in half. Many of those policies were in the American Rescue Plan, passed in March. These days, I'm spending much of my time advancing the President's American Jobs Plan, which would be the largest jobs package since World War II. And last month, the President unveiled the American Families Plan, which would make life-changing investments in education, healthcare, and childcare. Any one of these three endeavors taken individually would be a historic undertaking. Collectively, they comprise the greatest investment in our country and people in generations. Franklin Roosevelt offered America a New Deal, a term that owed something to his predecessor Teddy Roosevelt, who had put forward a square deal. Later, Harry Truman spoke of a fair deal. Today's effort might be described as the big deal. As Kennedy School graduates, I'm sure you have your own well-informed views on these programs and proposals. But no matter how you feel about them, there's no denying that their emergence represents a new window of what is possible in this country, a window different in scope and scale from the limits on our thinking just 2 years ago. The big deal is based on a big ambition to demonstrate how good government can indeed do big and good things and do them well. Of course, the piece of this effort that I have the most to do with is the work concerning the future of America's infrastructure. And yes, we are debating the very definition of infrastructure. 50 years ago, we thought of infrastructure as roads and bridges, ports and rail. Today, I would argue that infrastructure also means electricity, clean water, and certainly broadband. After a year of virtual classes, I'm sure you'll agree that right now an internet connection is just as important as an interstate highway connection. To some, expanding the definition of infrastructure is unwelcome, especially as we apply the concept to things like schools and housing and care. But ironically, the debate over what we should add to our concept of infrastructure is in many ways a very traditional exercise. What was not traditional, say in 1815, was the prospect of a human-made canal across the Appalachian Mountains. Nor was a railroad from the Pacific to the Atlantic a very traditional project as of 1860. Nor was the original thought of an interstate highway system that could connect the smallest towns with the largest cities exactly a traditional proposition in the 1950s. To look back at the American infrastructure tradition is to see just how many times that tradition expanded itself. But redefining the possibilities of public policy is about more than just taking a wider view. It's also about changing the lenses through which we see. I aroused some controversy recently when I mentioned that racism is physically built into much of America's transportation infrastructure. But it's true, and certainly not an original insight on my part. Infrastructure projects have often served to disrupt, divide, and even destroy communities of color, from highways that were routed straight through the heart of black neighborhoods to pollution from ports that has caused health problems in the communities nearby. And because of the massive size and literally the concrete nature of much of our transportation infrastructure, the physical means of this division and harm can often be harder to change than a hiring policy, a voting restriction, or even inequitable housing stock. Yet today, we are prepared to make decisions on infrastructure through the lens of racial equity. This is also true of climate change. Our transportation sector is the single biggest contributor to climate change in the U.S. economy, and that means it must also be a big part of the solution. That's why our plan includes the largest investments in electric vehicles, resilience, and clean energy in U.S. history. This whole debate is a reminder that we can still aim at big things. JFK inspired Americans to put a man on the moon, and we did. But today, our greater challenges are closer to home. It shouldn't be easier to visualize a man returning safely from the moon than a black man returning from work without any fear of mistreatment due to racism. It shouldn't be more controversial to build a climate-conscious transportation network than to build rockets that could take tourists into space. Everyone deserves safe, affordable, equitable, resilient infrastructure. That may not sound as sexy as space exploration, but I would argue it's no less important to the people you have spent the last years studying how best to serve. Your school's namesake encouraged Americans to shoot for the moon. I hope that you will set your sights even higher than that. President Kennedy spoke of a new frontier. I would suggest that the most compelling frontiers for your ingenuity are invisibly awaiting us in the physical spaces we move through every day, and in the spaces between justice and injustice, in the spaces between ideologies and even realities that divide people today. As graduates of the Harvard Kennedy School, you have been called into a tradition of service. And as the newest vanguard of that tradition, you are poised to reshape not just public policy, but what it means to serve. Our conceptions of service today are still rooted in norms from generations ago. Some of those norms are timeless traditions, but others are long overdue for an update. You're going to have to figure out which is which before we run out of time. Graduates, no matter what path led you here, your careers in service need not look the same as they might have a generation ago. What we need most is for you to demonstrate, on terms that are informed by but never captive of tradition, that public service is still the way we change the world. The otherwise grim beginnings of this decade have demonstrated that the guardrails of the achievable aren't as fixed as some had thought. So ask yourself, what policy changes once thought impossible should we pursue? Which social norms that once bound us can we lay aside, and which must we preserve? What innovations, social as well as technological, did we once think of as centuries away from us, but might now actually be something we could deliver in our time? At one of the gates into Harvard Yard, you may have noticed overhead a stone lintel that reads on one side, "Enter to grow in wisdom." And on the other side, seen as you walk out of the yard and onto Massachusetts Avenue, it says, "Depart to serve better thy country and thy kind." The ways that we serve may be changing, and our definition of thy kind has become broader and more inclusive than ever. But the word up there that most rhymes with our moment, and of course, admittedly, the word that most rhymes with the agenda of the administration in which I serve, is the word better. Plenty of questions are attached to that word. Better than what? Better than whom? One answer, of course, is better than you would have known how to do before you got here and got this degree. But I would add to that, better than all those who have before made the attempt. Because your generation has that much more experience, that many more lessons learned, often the hard way, that much more hindsight than all of those before you. I am eager to see how you will use the wisdom you have learned here to serve your countries, the places you call home, and our kind, humanity, in this decisive time. May you serve well. Congratulations once more on this extraordinary achievement.
Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg, for your thoughtful and inspiring remarks. Now I am pleased to have a chance to speak to the graduates and their families and friends myself. With the conferring of degrees by Harvard President Larry Bacow this morning, the members of the class of 2021 are officially graduates of Harvard Kennedy School. Congratulations. We are proud of you and excited for you. Congratulations as well to the families and friends of the graduates, to the mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, grandparents, spouses, partners, children, and all of the loved ones who have supported today's graduates and helped to make this moment possible. This year has been especially hard for many families, so your continuing encouragement of the graduates deserves special recognition. I ask the members of the class of 2021 to reflect on the people who have nurtured you and supported you. If they're with you now, please turn to them and give them your thanks. We have gathered virtually for this graduation rather than in person because traveling and convening in large groups still pose significant risks to people's health. I am so sorry that Harvard cannot offer its typical commencement today, and I hope that you all will join us in the future when we can safely celebrate the class of 2021 in person. I'm sorry as well that members of this class have been able to spend only limited time or no time at all on our campus. Having to learn and interact online has made this past year and a quarter unusually difficult. But the class of 2021, like so many people in our communities, rose to the occasion. You showed up enthusiastically to class sessions, bringing your whole selves, and in some cases your families and pets as well. You found ways to build community with each other outside of class, undeterred by differences in geography and time zones. You should be very proud of what you have accomplished. I want to pause here to recognize David Hicks, a student in the joint program between the Kennedy School and Harvard Law School, who passed away this month after a hard battle with cancer. Dave will be missed so much by all who knew him and by those whom he would have served after graduation. Around the world, many people have felt the pain of loss this year as we continue to experience human suffering on a horrific scale in this pandemic. My heart goes out to everyone who is hurting and grieving in Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. I offer my deepest sympathy to all who have become ill or lost loved ones, and to all who have endured the social and economic consequences of the virus. I also offer my profound gratitude to the healthcare professionals, first responders, essential workers, government employees, scientists, and all who have been serving others, in some cases with the sacrifice of their own lives. Our ability to endure the pandemic, as individuals and as a society, depends on our resilience. Resilience is often defined as an ability to recover from or adjust to misfortune or change. Misfortune is common, and change even more so. And this means that resilience, the ability to cope with misfortune and change, is enormously important. The ability of the class of 2021 to learn and grow this year despite the obstacles is a testament to resilience. Resilience depends on both individual characteristics and societal characteristics. Some of these characteristics can be influenced by our individual or societal decisions, while others cannot. For example, a person's resilience in the face of physical or emotional setbacks may depend partly on their age. As we grow older, our bodies can become more vulnerable to diseases such as COVID-19. Yet age also brings experience, and some experiences increase our psychological fortitude, which can improve our ability to deal with illnesses and other difficulties. Many other individual characteristics can affect resilience as well. But resilience is not just a matter of individual characteristics. A person's resilience depends crucially on the characteristics of the society in which the person lives. These societal characteristics include both specific public policies and broader aspects of relationships between people. For example, when someone becomes sick, can they take time off work and receive health care? If a person cannot take time off and get care, then society is not helping them to be resilient. When someone loses a job because of economic shifts, is other work or a public safety net available? If not, then society is not enabling resilience. Is someone's life treated as fully worthy of respect and dignity, regardless of that person's race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or physical abilities? If not, then society is profoundly unjust and is undermining people's resilience. When people's lives and livelihoods are being hurt by changes in the environment, is society acting resolutely? If not, then resilience is being reduced rather than increased. I urge the members of the class of 2021 to build resilience in your own lives and to help build resilience in your communities, your nations, and our shared world. Resilience will be important for you personally because life can be hard, and public service, in addition to its deep satisfactions, can bring demanding challenges. Serving the public interest requires a commitment and sense of urgency to improving the lives of others, but it also requires patience and perseverance. In my long career in government, I saw at close hand that progress is often 2 steps forward, 1 back, or sometimes 1 step forward and 2 steps back before making adjustments and trying again to move forward. Being able to cope with setbacks is essential. The obstacles to progress in the public sphere are many. Some obstacles are people who are self-serving, dishonest, or unjust in the treatment of others. In those cases, anger may be a natural reaction, but it often does not generate needed change by itself. Instead, skills and knowledge must be brought to bear as well, and that takes time and involves setbacks. Moreover, obstacles to progress are often not bad intent, but rather complexity, uncertainty, and scarcity. In those circumstances, discouragement may be natural, but that also does not produce change. Instead, rigorous analysis, mental flexibility, and adaptive action must be brought to bear. Work that, again, takes time and involves setbacks. So in your lives of advancing the common good, being resilient will be hugely important. Resilience is also hugely important for society. When a society can recover from misfortune or change and can adapt effectively, people can have better lives. And we might broaden the definition of societal resilience to include not only responding well to problems, but also avoiding inflicting problems on ourselves. This past year offers many examples of the importance of strengthening societal resilience through better public policies and through improving the way we treat each other. Consider the tragedies caused by the pandemic. The extent of deaths and suffering in different places has depended in significant part on whether underlying living standards facilitate good health broadly, whether public health systems have been ready to step up, whether scientific expertise and safety measures have been widely accepted, and what other policies have been used. In other words, some places have been much more resilient against COVID-19 than other places, and that difference has mattered. This past year has also brought tragic deaths and much suffering in the United States arising from racism against Black Americans, Asian Americans, and other people of color, and arising from bias and discrimination against women and members of other groups. Marginalized people in other countries have been subject to terrible violence as well. If society can reduce and ultimately eliminate racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination, the advance of justice will lessen the pain and grief we experience. We will create a more resilient society. Attacks on democracy have intensified this past year in a number of countries. As Harvard's deans wrote last fall, the success of democracy depends on, quote, the right to vote, a free and independent press, checks and balances, the peaceful transfer of power, and the rule of law with equal justice for all, unquote. When citizens and leaders stand by those crucial elements of democracy, accountability and social cohesion can make societies resilient in addressing challenges. But when citizens and leaders abandon those elements of democracy in hopes of short-term advantage, resilience is diminished. Similarly, the climate crisis is a test of societal resilience. Over time, our degrading of the natural world is causing more illness and death, displacement of vulnerable populations, spreading of disease, intensified resource conflicts, and other damage. Moreover, the harms are often borne disproportionately by people who suffer from injustices of other sorts. A resilient society would act decisively to slow and buffer those changes. For the problems I have mentioned and others, making society more resilient can create an enormous positive difference in people's lives. And making a difference in other people's lives is your enduring commitment, graduates. Please use the skills and knowledge you have developed during your time at the Kennedy School to help build resilience in our world. Members of the Harvard Kennedy School class of 2021, we will miss you very much, and we hope that you will stay in touch as alumni. We are excited that you will always be members of the Kennedy School family. I used to watch a television show called The Amazing Race, in which teams of contestants race each other around the world. We are less able to travel around the world right now, but the sentiment with which the host begins each race still applies. He says to all of the contestants, and I say now to all of you, the world is waiting for you. Good luck, travel safe, go. Thank you, and congratulations. Now, Deborah Isaacson, the Senior Associate Dean for Degree Programs and Student Affairs, will present the roll call for each of our degree programs.
It is my great pleasure to present to you members of the class of 2021 for the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Political Economy and Government and for the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy. Each member's dissertation topic is included. We now present to you members of the class of 2021 for the degree Master in Public Policy. We now present to you members of the class of 2021 for the degree Master in Public Administration and International Development. We now present to you members of the class of 2021 for the degree Master in Public Administration. We now present to you members of the mid-career class of 2021 for the degree Master in Public Administration. Class of 2021, despite all of the challenges you've encountered over the past 16 months, you did it. We hope you will look back at your HKS experience and feel pride about all that you have accomplished. We hope you remember the classes, the problem sets, the friendships, the events and activities, the challenges and the joys you experienced as students. You built a foundation at HKS that you can leverage for the rest of your career and are now lifelong members of our community. Congratulations.
Class of 2021, the next step is yours to take. Wherever you go and whatever you do, I hope your experience at Harvard Kennedy School will always be with you as a source of pride and support. Congratulations.
I want to thank my parents, my husband, my daughter, and all of my family who supported me during my journey at HKS.
This is a map of HKS. You are at the center of it.
To my grandparents, my brother Alec, and especially mom and dad, thanks so much for always believing in me. I never could have done this without you. And to my betas, thanks for all the love and kindness along the way.
I'd like to thank my parents, especially my mom, for always being there, my sister, brother, family, friends, all the faculty and staff, and last but not least, my classmates.
Thank you, Mom, Dad, Harris, and Cal, and especially thank you to my greatest champion, John.
Ale, Mom, Dad, Funny Group, Faye, and Chris. Thank you. I wouldn't have made it if it weren't for you.
Mamis, papis, meus irmãos queridos, Zach, todos que me apoiaram até aqui. Muito obrigada. Esse sonho é de todos nós.
I want to say thank you to my family in Haiti and my mentors, Kate Oswald and Wabben Was, and the families for their mentorship and continued support, especially over the past 2 years.
To Jose, Maggie, my parents, and my in-laws, thank you all for your support, and I love you very much.
بعد توفيق ربنا يوم ويابا كتر خيركم، دهاني كتر خيري، محمد سارة وفتح الرحمن إبراهيم ومسامة كتر خيركم، الأهل كلهم كتر خيركم كتير.
Thank you to Mom and Dad and Aleem for all your love and support, and also to the incredible joint degree family for an awesome 3 years and hopefully an incredible lifetime ahead.
Segura, Martini.
I just want to thank my parents, RJZ, Teddy, Professor Avery, and my partner in crime, Eli. You guys made HKS amazing for me.
Hi, this is British. Special thanks to my mom, wife, father-in-law, Harvard professors, and my senior, Mr. Arvind Chopra. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the Joint T family and to my real family, Mom, Dad, Susie, and John, for your unconditional love and support.
Thanks, Mom, Dad, Livy, Mick. Love you.
I want to thank my husband and my daughters for supporting me doing HKS virtually this year, the professors for their understanding, and all my lovely classmates. I hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you to my family and to Greg for being so excited about everything I was learning, and thank you to my professors and classmates for teaching and inspiring me.
Quiero darle las gracias a mi familia, a mis profesores y toda la gente de mi vida que me ha ayudado. Gracias por todo, los amo.
Thanks to my wife and to my little baby, just born in March 4th. Thank you to my parents and my sister and all the colleagues.
I'd like to thank my mama, papa, kuya, sister-in-law, my boyfriend, mentors Dean Tony, Sir Ernel, Dio Mascara, and Sir Edward and friends for their invaluable support.
I'd like to thank my wonderful husband, my joyful and loving son, and a host of family and friends who have supported me this year.
It's been a wonderful 4 years, and I would like to thank my family and friends for all of their support. We did it!
Gracias, papá y mamá. Todo esto es por ustedes.
I want to say thank you to my wife for the support. Thank you for the faculty for everything they have done to us. I want to thank the General Administration of Kennedy School and Harvard University for bringing us on campus in the midst of pandemic. Everything has been achieved because of support from all these teams. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to thank all my friends in the beta cohort, Cheddar, my family, and of course my lovely girlfriend, Laura.
Dear family and friends, thank you for the support and love.
I want to thank my parents, my sister, my friends for helping me along through this journey.
For my wife, for our daughter, for my parents, brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles. Thank you for everything.
Congratulations, class of 21. Thank you all, especially my friends, family, mom, dad, Uruj, Rida, and Kanza.
Congratulations.
Thank you, family and friends, for having made this dream possible. In the name of Diogo Santana, thank you, HKS friends, for having made it so special. I love you all.
Thank you to my wife and son, Laura and Tyler, and both of you have gifts hidden somewhere in the house.
Papá, mamá, Luz Ángela, Olga, Luzme, Loco, Gordo, gracias, los amo mucho.
Thank you to my wonderful husband, parents, and brother, to all the amazing friends I've made, and to Professors Mandel, Sherman, and Liebman, who have been incredible mentors.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you to my parents, especially my mother, who believed in me and pushed me to apply to Harvard. Thank you to my Zayde, who believed in education and in whose memory this degree is dedicated. And most of all, thank you to my wife Sarah, who bore the weight of this crazy year. I couldn't have done it without you.
Y gordo, este diploma es de los dos. Family, gracias por todo su apoyo.
Big thank you to my family for all of their support and all of their patience, especially to my wife Sally. I couldn't have done it without you.
Hi, Mom, Dad, Vivek, Ellie, Mia, Helen. To all my friends and family, thank you for being here today, and I wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you to my parents, my grandparents, and my brothers, my PAE partner Carla, and all the professors and mentors who supported me along the way.
Hi, my name is Han Shin, and I want to thank my partner Yuna and the entire family for supporting me during my time at HKS.
Thank you so much, Mom, Dad, Salam, the rest of the family, all my friends, and my professors for all your support.
Special thanks to my wife Christy, children Joy, Maverick, Jimmy, Gabriel, and Faith. Your sacrifice and support have made this incredible experience possible. I love you.
I'd just like to thank my family for everything over the past year, especially my wife Lee and my kids Teddy and Lily.
I want to thank my family and my friends, and also the turkeys as well.
Thank you to my parents, my partner Denise, my family, my friends, and everybody who helped me get here today. This wouldn't be possible without you.
A big thanks to my sweet wife and my crazy kids for their love, patience, and support. Grab it, get it.
Mom and Dad, I couldn't have made it here today without your unwavering support. To Becca and Dave, you are the greatest teammates I could have asked for. To Grandma, you inspire me every day. And to the love of my life, Shay Roseman, you mean the world to me, and I can't wait for our next chapter together.
Gwen, you are the rock that supports this family. Thank you for supporting me the last 3 years. I love you.
Thank you, Mom, Dad, George, Victor, and the MPID family for all your support.
Thank you to my family, my friends, and all of my loved ones for their continued support and encouragement all year.
I want to thank my family, Miriam, Guillermo, and Joaquin, my partner Lucas, and all of my new friends that walked this journey with me.
No way I could have done this without you. Thank you, Lisa, and thanks to the kids for your understanding, love, and patience.
Mom, Dad, Chris, Lynn, Genevieve, Philip, I love you all so much and thanks for all the support.
I'm grateful to God and my wonderful family, and I'm thankful for all of the tremendous support and knowledge that I've received from the faculty, staff, and my colleagues.
Mamá, Luis y el resto de mi familia, muchas gracias por su apoyo en estos años.
Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
My gratitudes and thanks goes to my wife Hina, our daughter Malka, our son Vishnu, and my parents. Without you, I would not have been able to do this. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Mom, Dad, friends, family, and of course all the Gammas. Thanks. Can't imagine having done this without you.
Thank you to my parents, friends, and mentors who made it possible for me to graduate from the Harvard Kennedy School.
Merci à Slim, Mama, Samia, Fatma,
Hey Zainab, Marwan et papa, je suis sûre que tu es fier de moi.
This year, like many other students all over the world, I studied from my room in Texas and in Cambridge. I also had the opportunity to study at the Kennedy School campus. I want to say a big thank you to all my family, faculty, colleagues, my friends, and everyone who supported me through this journey. Big shout out to my mom, my siblings, Professor Hong, Deb, Susan, for all the encouragement and support. This year, I graduate from Harvard.
I want to thank my parents, my grandma, my HKS GSB jointee family, and my friend Erica Pincus, who inspired me to come to HKS in the first place.
Hey, I know I've been a pain over the past year. This has been too much, but I just want to thank my wife, Siad, my daughter, Hannah, and my son-to-be, Simon, and all our network of friends and family that have been always there. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank my parents, Lily and Vio, my fiance, Michael, and all of our family and friends near and far. Congratulations, Harvengers.
I want to thank my family, especially my parents and my brother, my friends, my professors, and Harvard Kennedy School for your support.
Gracias, Maipa, por todo su apoyo. Franco, my friends in Peru, and my friends here for your constant cheering, and Sebas for your unconditional support throughout the years.
Thank you, Max, Mom, and Dad for making graduation possible, and thank you to Remy and Rowan for making it worth it.
Thank you, God, my family, loved ones, and scholarship benefactors. Harvard is a dream that we achieve together. Paris is just at Bayern.
A big shout out to Mom, Dad, and Nikki for always believing in me, and to my friends and my TAP team for always having my back. Thank you.
I want to thank my family and my husband for being so supportive and always believing in me. Friends and faculty, I will treasure our time together.
Thank you to my parents, friends, HKS MPA family, and HKS Women's Oval Office Program for helping me dream big.
Obrigada por tudo, família e amigos. Amo muito, muito vocês. Tô com muitas saudades. Super beijo.
Thank you to my parents, who I would be friends with even if they did not birth me, because they're just dope people.
Congrats, grads. Mom, Dad, Samantha, I love you.
Yes, we made it. I want to say a big thank you to my family and all of my friends who helped me get through my program at HKS. I love you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mommy, Peter and Natalie. Thank you, HKS family.
Great time to celebrate with family.
Congratulations.
I especially want to thank my loving family, Finn, Paige, Jack, Kellen, and my beautiful wife, Stephanie. I love you.
I want to thank my Harvard professors for inspiring me to always think beyond and go beyond.
To all my friends and family, thank you for supporting me throughout my journey at HKS.
To my dear Ellie, Celia, Betsy, Teo, and of course Anna, thank you so much for making this a wonderful year. I love you.
I'd love to thank everyone in my family who supported me at HKS, particularly my mother, Mary Ellen Sweeney, my father, Hoyt Taylor, and my wife, Ella Wise.
Shout out to my partner Amelia and daughter Maya, to my parents Bob, Jacqueline, and Ira, to Miss Howard, Shireen, Fernando, Beth, and all my siblings. We did it. 3P.
Thank you, professors and classmates, CPL, my advisor, Professor McCarthy, my family, Dashka, and Team MCN.
The biggest thanks to my mom, dad, brother, family, friends, and everyone who supported me along the way. Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank my mother and father for supporting me in my education my entire life, and most of all to my wife, who's been there for me the entire 4 years of the JD MPP program. Right, Biki?
Shukran, Baba. Without your sacrifices, I would not be here today. Thanks as well to my mother, husband, children, and siblings for all your love and support.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for all your love and support, and thank you to Molly, Naomi, and Sasha for writing my rec letters. We did it! Thank you all.
I'd like to say thank you to my children, my husband, my parents, and of course Odie for supporting me this year at the Kennedy School.
I want to thank my family and my friends for encouraging me to pursue this program and for all your support.
A big thank you to my parents and a big shout out to my husband Brijesh and my children Anushka and Aryan for making my HKS journey meaningful.
A special thanks to Petra and Mila. I love you guys so much and couldn't have done this without you.
I want to say thank you to my son who has always been calling from Liberia, asking me how is the academic work. Lord, I want to say thank you for my son. I want to say thank you to all my colleagues. I visited you in various areas.
A big thanks to my parents, my wife Swati, and kids Anushka and Aryan for being part of my journey to Howard Kennedy School.
Un millón de gracias por todo su apoyo a mi esposa Andrea, mis hijos Silvia y Matías, mis queridos padres, mi querida hermana y toda mi familia. Lo logramos.
Mom, Dad, Anna, and the rest of the De La Rosa family, thank you for all of your love and support. Enjoy today's celebrations.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come here. I love you.
I want to thank my family for making today possible. I am deeply grateful to all the people I've met all over the world who inspire me to work in public service.
I am grateful for the people who inspired, challenged, and loved me at HKS. You taught me to become a master of myself so that I may be a servant to others.